Okay, so there is a lot going on right now. And I mean a lot. We've got a major royal charity admitting to human rights abuses. We've got a court case that's actually just wrapped up, and not in the way you might think. We've got a Met Gala snub that's turned into a whole narrative battle. And we've got the actual working royals, having what looks, at least from the outside, like a genuinely moving week. So let's just go through it one by one. Because honestly, I was kind of shocked at how little coverage this got compared to everything else. This is about African parks. That's the wildlife conservation charity that Prince Harry has been connected to since 2016, first as president, and later moved up to the board of directors, which is technically a step up, not down. Here's what happened. Factually, back in 2023, the human rights group Survival International raised allegations with African parks that rangers at the Odzala-Kokoa National Park in the Republic of Congo had committed serious abuses, beatings, torture, and rape against members of the Baka Indigenous community, whose ancestral land the park sits on. These allegations were also detailed in a Mail on Sunday investigation. African Parks brought in a law firm, Omnia Strategy, which was founded by Cherie Blair to investigate. That investigation ran for around 2 years, and in May of last year, African Parks put out a statement. I'm not going to read it word for word, but the substance was this. They acknowledged that, in some incidents, human rights abuses had occurred, and they said they deeply regretted the pain and suffering caused to the victims. They also admitted their own systems and processes had been insufficient for the level of responsibility they'd taken on, especially in the early years. Now here's the part that I think is genuinely damning. African Parks has never made the full findings of that investigation public, and Survival International, the group that first raised the alarm, has been pretty blunt about it. Their director has said plainly that Baka men and women were beaten, tortured, and raped by rangers paid for and managed by African Parks. And more recently, there have been renewed calls, including reporting that Harry has actually been asked to step back from the charity altogether. My take, and I'll flag this clearly as opinion, I think it's fair to ask hard questions here. Harry sat on the board while this was unfolding. He hasn't, as far as the public record shows, made any personal public statement about the findings. His team has generally pointed back to African Park's own statement when asked. You can draw your own conclusions about whether that's an adequate response for someone in a governance position at the charity. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you what's documented, and then telling you where I land on it. Now, here's where I actually need to correct the record on something, because this story has moved a lot since it was first being talked about. Back when this was still pre-trial, there was a real fight over document disclosure. Harry, along with Elton John, David Furnish, Elizabeth Hurley, and others, were suing Associated Newspapers publisher of the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday over allegations of unlawful information gathering going back decades. Phone hacking, blagging, that kind of thing. At one point, lawyers for the Mail's publisher pushed hard for the claimants to hand over documents relating to payments made to private investigators for evidence, and a judge did remark, at a preliminary stage, that he found it remarkable that certain documents hadn't been produced. But that was a preliminary skirmish. The case actually went to a full trial, and the outcome is now in. Harry lost. All 7 claimants lost. The judge, Mr. Justice Nicklin, dismissed every single one of the allegations. I've seen the publisher's own statement. Put the number at 97 separate allegations, all rejected. The judge reportedly accepted the honesty of the Mail's journalists' evidence about how they sourced their stories, and found the claimants hadn't proven their case. Now, to be fair and balanced about this, Harry and his legal team have pushed back hard on that outcome, calling it a reversal of the position taken by judges in his earlier successful cases against other publishers, referring to News Group and Mirror Group, where he did win. So, this isn't a case where everyone agrees the ruling was correct. Harry's side clearly doesn't. There's also reporting that there's now a separate fight over legal costs, which could run into tens of millions of dollars. My opinion here, I think this is a pretty significant loss for Harry, and it undercuts the narrative that every media organization has just been caught red-handed. It doesn't erase his previous wins. Those did happen, and the Sun and Mirror Group cases did end in settlements and apologies. But losing 97 out of 97 allegations at trial is not a small thing. and I think it's going to be used against him in the court of public opinion, regardless of what happens with any appeal. Okay, let's talk about something a bit lighter, but honestly, kind of revealing about where things stand publicly. Harry and Meghan were not at the Met Gala. They've actually never attended it, and there's been a bit of a tug-of-war in the coverage about why. Some outlets, including Harper's Bazaar, framed it as the couple choosing not to go, citing scheduling, and the fact that their son Archie's birthday fell right around the same time. Other reporting takes a more skeptical line and suggests they simply weren't invited, full stop, and that the "we were too busy" framing is doing some work to soften that. Here's my honest opinion. I don't think we actually know for certain which one it is, and I'd be cautious about anyone who tells you definitively. The Met Gala guest list is notoriously opaque. Nobody outside Anna Wintour's inner circle really knows who was invited and turned it down versus who never got the call. What I can say is that this fits a broader pattern that's been written about a lot. Genuine, sustained debate over whether Harry and Meghan have the level of cultural and industry pull that a lot of people expected when they first moved to the US. That's a real ongoing conversation in entertainment and royal media, not something I'm inventing. And then, in contrast, you've got what the actual working royals were doing this week, and I'll be upfront. This is the part of the story I found genuinely nice to cover, not just spicy. The royal family marked VE Day commemorations with a concert at Horse Guards Parade, and it was, by most accounts, a warm, well-received event. Catherine and William were both there. King Charles gave remarks, and notably, Prince George was brought into official royal engagements in a more visible way than before, old enough now to be included in that kind of moment. Commemorative events like VE Day tend to be one of the places where the monarchy's more ceremonial, symbolic function is at its most visible, and frankly, its most uncontroversial. Whatever you think of the institution more broadly, this is the stuff it's arguably still good at connecting a national historical moment to a public occasion people can watch and feel something about. So, stepping back, here's how I'd sum up where things actually stand, fact-wise, not opinion. African Parks has confirmed abuses occurred under its watch while Harry sat on the board and hasn't released the full investigation. Harry lost his Daily Mail case at trial, with all the allegations dismissed, though he's contesting that outcome. Nobody actually knows for certain why he and Meghan weren't at the Met Gala, and the working royals had a visibly strong, well-received week around VE Day. My personal read on all of it, and again, this is opinion, not something I'm asking you to just accept, is that the gap between the Sussex's media strategy and the actual documented outcomes of these stories keeps getting wider. That's worth watching. Not because I think anyone deserves to be dragged for the sake of it, but because when a charity you help govern admits to abuses, and a major legal case you brought gets dismissed in full, those are things worth sitting with rather than glossing over. Anyway, that's where I'm at with all of this. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.